starting now on YouTube. So fuck. What is it? You now. You now. It's not happening for me. You now gotta go. So, I mean, I don't have my phone now. It's in the bedroom. I don't want to stop again. I don't want to lie. So if you don't know who Grandmaster Jay, he came out to the neo-Nazi. As soon as I turned this live stream, he started singing. He like audience. He loved audience. Somehow he know there's a camera and he can show off. My baby. His name is Tlapaltic. He came about in oh my god. I don't remember the right names, but one of those big neo-Nazi gatherings. So he showed up with a huge militia, all black militia, African militia, and so it gave a lot of people hope. I remember seeing that was a year ago. I think was that a year ago? I don't even remember. I remember when it was the first time. I remember that he's been to several events as a counterweight against neo-Nazis, and he's been doing things by the book, literally, like they say, dotting the I's and crossing the T's and checking it, several times to make sure everything is on point, because this is not our language. So obviously we have a huge disadvantage against the Europeans, which they force their language on, especially on contracts, on the Constitution, everything that matter actually. In the laws, they all have this English language, which it can like one word have several meanings. So it is horrible. So it turned out that back in September, he was at this one of these rallies from the whatever they call themselves, alt-right, rednecks, something like that. I don't know. So and they say they found some footage or a picture of him shooting. I mean, pointing at a Secret Service something. Yeah, you know what they got. I'm not even gonna front that I know what they got, because they don't even know. I mean, it's like that's a known fact that most of the staff or whatever, they don't know who is an Asian and who's not, because they have counterintelligence, they have blah 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 blah, COINTELPRO. And that's another thing, that was the declassified information that proved, obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, the United States, it said right there, must prevent the rise of a potential Black Messiah. Yeah, it's not it turned out it was not a sci-fi movie or anything. It turned out that that's U.S. policy, same as the Monroe Doctrine, where whites, they feel obligated to control the entire hemisphere. So it's like, it's ridiculous. I mean, I live in New York City. I live in Manhattan, and they actually officially call it the Empire State. So it is, needless to say, this is a very violent, I want to say country, but it turned out it's not a country, it is a corporation. And that's why we all have a number amongst many other things that can be traded, downtown. Let's put it downtown in Wall Street, the Social Security number, Medicaid number. So we're like numbers, and we are moved as numbers in the whatever, in Wall Street, in the financial whatever district. So it is one of the reasons that I just thought about getting on camera and speaking up was because I have been finding that our African American brothers and sisters, they somehow they're becoming very, very picky when it comes to their own leadership. And I mean, it's not that I like to meddle on other people's business, because that is not the case. That is not the case. We are on the same hemisphere. We're on the same continent. We're in the same land. Basically, it's a land mass. The Americas. What actually is called Anahuac. The whites. They got this idea. I mean, that it was like, I guess, start with an A, I guess, and stuff. So the thing is that it do affect us. And I see, before actually I get into I have to make this parenthesis, that I'm becoming increasingly worried about the African diaspora in the United States, because are becoming more and more belligerent against, quote unquote, other peoples, or should I just say mulattoes and mulatas, there's been this notion that if there's no texture hair, then there's no blackness. And that's, just one of the many ideas the government is planting in social media, for African American brothers and sisters. And, for Latin America too, that the divide and conquer. This was started like 500 years ago, that by saying, no, you're Indian, and oh no, you're black. Because if we see the first writings of the first Europeans, Neanderthals, that arrived, in these lands, they thought this was Ethiopian. They call us Ethiopians and Indians, which Indians are Ethiopians. I mean, for real. I mean, and I mean, when I say for real, it's like, it's been proven without a shadow of a doubt. So, and all that. Yes, you are the best. Ocelote, my cat is passed out. So, about that, I just feel like it's getting to a point that it might start going through a path of isolation. We see a lot of countries are going in that direction too, and yes, there's a connection with the planets, with the stars. I mean, I've been, listening, kind of monitoring some of the astrologers, which there are very few astrologers. Most of them, they kind of like, they're like phoning it. I cannot say that word. Phoning it in. They phone it in, and or they do the cards and they read the back of the card. It's like you go like, oh, that sound like America. Sound America. We have the worst education system. We have extremely Eurocentric system and values, and that's just beyond humiliating. That we are actually beginning our story, like 400 years ago in this land. Anyway, so one of the things I want to ask you, and well, this time I'm going to ask. Next time I'm probably going to be begging. Don't be picky. Don't be picky. Whites have made sure to paint you in a very poor light throughout the world, and obviously throughout Latin America. So you don't have that luxury. You don't have that luxury to be picking and choosing your leaders. And yes, I think I've seen most of the videos you have made against Grandmaster Jay. I mean, I think the worst is that he get too friendly with Becky. That's horrendous. But I mean, like I said, you cannot be picky. Actually, we cannot be picky. I mean, as long as somebody loves us, I think we have to smile and say thank you. I mean, because we have allowed ourselves to be put in a situation where our situation is so delicate. You have no idea. Sometimes I really feel like, Europeans are living in another world. I mean, Europeans, our African American brothers and sisters are living. You see, I'm like, okay, that's a sign. Somehow I got distracted. I have another little bird right here that somebody gave me. And he's a great teacher too. So I'm going to make another parenthesis within the parentheses. About 3 years ago, I started focusing on Mexican politics. I'm Mexican. And we had a hope, to elect for the first time in 70 years our own president for the first time in 70 years. Every other president was, corporate president. And so I've been actually, I've been kind of actually changing my mind, after, I think Black Twitter, I'm talking about Black American Twitter, definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things. And, but it wasn't until I started going to Latin America, because for the first time in more than 50 years of my existence, there was a chance for me not to feel ashamed of my own country. So it's a very humbling experience, and at the same time, it's so beautiful. I still get emotional just talking about, and to realize to what extent, politics influenced my behavior when I was young. I think I became somebody that I was not proud about, shallow, Eurocentric. And that's why I said, that's why I close the parentheses. And that's what I said, I find this disconnect with my African American brothers and sisters, that you feel like you actually going to get something in this land, in the United States, without actually changing your behavior or your tactics, or it is that frustrating. It is that frustrating, especially as we right now see the so-called migrant crisis. We're seeing millions and millions of people who are actually perceived as they have no land. Ourselves, Mexican people, we was exiled not too long ago, unceremoniously kicked out of the United States. People forget that. The Chinese was kicked out. And I guess what I want to tell you is, like, you probably don't have a lot of time. You probably don't have a lot of time. Africa still can be, what is that? Is this something blocking this guy? Oh yeah, it's not blocking anymore. Africa is still, not as pervasively, has not been poisoned. Now, who is this? It has not been poisoned completely against African Americans. You have done a lot of damage. That's why I nickname you Rumblefish. Especially in the past 3 years, you've been picking fights, as if you actually in a position where you can actually pick fights. You're actually, I'm sorry, somebody had to say this, you are in a position of being solicitous. I said it. All these years, I have been trying to find a way to tell you, this and that, the overreactivity to a lot of things that at the end of the day don't really matter. And one of the things is that always shake me is the fact that I'm witnessing every day, another Malcolm X going down. Hopefully not. And yes, I'm talking about the great Dr. Umar Johnson. That's just scary. That's just so scary. And it's heartbreaking. As heartbreaking as listening the great Dr. Clark. The names are going away. English is my second language. The great Dr. John Henry Clark saying, Africans have no friends. I think it's the name of the lecture. Africans got no friends. And it is horrible to realize that he's never lying to you. He never lied to you or to anybody, I think, And yet you insult people like you are what they call it, like a first world nation, first world country. Come on, not even first world countries insult people as much as you do. And I'm not saying, like leaders and stuff, no, I'm talking about everyday people on social media. That's what I'm talking about. Everyday people that I don't know, I never met, and they say shit against Mexicans. It's like, I mean, if you happen to get into a video, not that I have much time, like I say, I'm invest, I wanted to say 100% in Mexican politics. The truth is that for me to get invest in Mexican politics, I had to be invest completely in Latin American politics, because even if it's just a little bit, we still see ourselves as one nation, the Latin American nation, which is so scary. It is so scary. I have observed in the past 10 years how frustrating it is, the fact that we cannot communicate with you because you speak English. We cannot communicate with our Haitian brothers and sisters in Haiti because we don't speak Creole. Or I think it's Patois. I'm not sure. It's like, this is what I hate to talk about sometimes. Things, because I hate to be getting things mistaken. So this is Brazil. This is the largest country, black country. We're the largest population of Africans outside of Africa. And I'm not the only one. We always see ourselves totally helpless because we don't speak Portuguese. It's not Portuguese, it's Brazilian. We don't speak Spanish. We speak Mexican. And that's something that you don't never respect. You have never respect. And we have been told that not all of us are Hispanics. Some of us are Mexican, just Mexican. We don't want to be part of that. Because, why? Because especially talking about the United States, the largest Latin American minority is us, Mexicans. It is calculated to be between 50 to 60 million Mexicans in this country alone. And we have to tolerate your damn disrespect every day, which I have no problem with, but I'm worried about, there's a lot of races, just like every other country. There's white people moving into Mexico every freaking day. And I have invited you, the African diaspora, to move to Mexico. And, people have insulted me, actually. People have insulted me for offering you my house, for saying mi casa es su casa. I feel like, what the fuck is wrong with you sometimes? And you are already sold to this idea that we are your enemy, number one. And that is not true. That is not true. We are a piece of work. I'm not going to be selling you, I'm not going to be setting you up, but way better than here. I have come to the realization that there's no other country that hates you the most than America. Would you want to stay here? You're obsessed with here. Okay, I get it. I get it. It's hard to watch. It's very hard to watch because you don't deserve any of this. You deserve some time to heal. You deserve dignified separation from your rapist. You don't want to allow yourself that. That is your choice. Nobody can force you that, right? Why is the camera on the edge? Okay, no. So I'm having two cameras. I'm on Twitter and I'm on YouTube. So I think I'm center. Why am I so obsessed with this center thing? Now I'm not centering. Not that I was center before. Okay, that's a flower. Paper flower. I was not going to talk about this, but that is the surprises sometimes, right? That is the surprises that life gives sometimes. Just check the sound, because I'm just like,